Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is John Shea. Welcome to Breakout Alliance. Today, we're actually going to be doing an interview with Paul James. He's someone that I've known for many years now. We're going to be sitting down and I'm going to be asking him a lot of questions about really how to build a successful business in 2019 and beyond. So on this channel, really, we're going to be having a lot of topics that are going to show you real-world skills on how to go out there and really help you build a successful business. If you guys are brand new to the channel, be sure to drop a like, a comment. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and we're going to be releasing new content each and every month, covering all kinds of things about entrepreneurship and how to build successful online businesses.
Yeah, so we're here to talk to you guys about local marketing and SEO and basically what the opportunity is and why someone might want to get involved and what it's done for us. So we're just going to kind of break this down and we're kind of share with you how we got started and how we met and stuff like that. Do you want to start, John, how you got started in local marketing?
Yeah, sure. I guess to give you like a quick version of my story, you guys, for those of you listening, I've been involved in the internet marketing industry for about 6 years. Initially got kind of interested in the idea of just sort of blogging and being able to make some extra money in my free time. And I would say right from the get-go, since I was doing things with blogging, that involved trying to rank some content on Google. So my thought was, why not learn a little bit more about how I could write a piece of content or an article and actually get it ranked on Google. So my first exposure was learning from some people who were doing extremely well, years and years ago, and using lots of different tools and plugins and things like that for, a content system called WordPress. And we basically, I was able to go out there and learn from him. And that's sort of what got me intrigued over time. And that's why I've been doing it. In terms of like local marketing, I realized that there were a lot of businesses that as time went on, a lot of them need a lot of help with getting more phone calls or more leads for their business. So that was how I got a little bit more interested in actual local marketing.
Nice. Yeah, I got started because I was in a band at the time and I was marketing my band on social media actually and came across an ad, funny enough. And I decided to dig deeper into what that was. And it's kind of an off the wall character who grabbed my attention. Normally I wouldn't even click on an ad like that, but I did. And I started checking into it. And that led me eventually down the path of SEO and learning about, ranking in Google and stuff like that. And at the time I was working at a heating company and work was slow for them. And I ended up getting laid off and having to figure out something else. I was working at Walmart part-time after that and going to school for nursing. So from there, I decided to try and rank a site for one of my nursing school topics, anatomy and physiology it was called, and had some success with that. Went back to the heating company and offered to rank them. And I basically just said, hey, I really don't know what I'm doing yet. Like I have an idea of how to do this for regular stuff, but I've never done this with a local business. And I just, want to try this for you. I think that we can do some big things and you just pay me if I get you results. And if not, then that's fine. So the way I saw it was they were kind of like my guinea pig and my way to experiment. So that's what I did. And things ended up kind of blowing up for me after that because I just ran with it. I went full blown into it, dropped out of school and started doing it full time. So.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a big opportunity. And that's really what I want people to get who are watching this out of this. You have both of us who have been very successful with it. And John, I know you're landing huge clients off of, freelancing sites and stuff like that. And I'm having success with landing clients off of Facebook and other methods as well, which maybe we'll talk about in a different hangout. Why don't we talk about how we met? I guess that's kind of a funny story.
Yeah. So I know, I guess I'll give my insight because, I've been obviously doing this for many years. And for some of you who may or may not know, depending on where you're watching this or, what realm of life you're from, I actually found this forum called the Warrior Forum. It's really one of the most popular internet marketing forums. And you had this software product that you were doing something very interesting. You were giving it away for free. And it was a tool that allowed people to go out there and you could find businesses that, generally it was really any niche. I think it was pretty broad. Like there was no real specific targeting. You could just say plumber in Boston, for example, and it would pull a list. and it made it a lot easier to find those prospects versus just kind of digging around Google. So I remember picking up your tool and then finding the tool really useful, especially because it was free. So I started following your emails, and then I saw you were launching like more products over the years and doing a lot more with local marketing. And then I know when I was on your email list for quite some time at one point, I think I had some on and offs myself with being on email lists. So I don't know if I really followed you from the very beginning on the email side of things. But I remember I jumped back on it because of a product you launched. I forget which offhand. It might have been Maps Mentor, which was actually kind of like that enhancement to that free one. You know, it did a little bit more digging into the Google My Business pages. And then I remember you basically doing this Twitch Hangout, which is a live streaming platform for video games. And I hit you up with a free course that I had done on Twitch, and you checked that out. And then we sort of reconvened here like a couple months back, and I showed you all the SEO stuff I was working on, and you were like, wow, this would really be a fit for some of the people that follow me, since obviously you've been marketing tools and doing a lot of local marketing stuff yourself. So just kind of took off from there.
Yeah. That's pretty much my side of things as well, from how I remember it. You know, I had put out that tool and was actually putting out trainings on different platforms of Warrior Forum, and just building up my own kind of following and stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. And the reason why I focused on maps and that tool was because when I started with the heating and cooling company, that was kind of my first line of attack, was I wanted to get them ranked in Google Maps. And I just didn't see anyone leveraging that opportunity at the time. And I still don't see a lot of people leveraging it like they should be, honestly. It's just such a wide open market. And no one was teaching it at the time. And that was really my goal, was to help bring some training to the community on maps specifically. You know, I had learned a lot from this community on regular SEO, and I wanted to contribute in some way. So yeah, pretty cool though, that free tool kind of led to this now, you know, and
yeah, for sure. I mean, it kind of like built, you know, people say to me all the time, like, cause they know that, you know, we're working together now in some capacity. So people will say to me like, you know, is it someone you trust or whatever? And I was like, well, yeah, I've been following him for years, like through his own blog and just other things that he's been doing. So I know that, you know, he's not someone that's just sort of, you know, gonna come and go, so to speak. And, you know, I think that was like pretty valuable. Not a lot of people will just give away software, for example. And I knew it was a pretty simple tool, like that you couldn't have, you know, you wouldn't have spent like 10 grand on it or something, but it was still a great way to get me started, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's awesome. I don't want people watching this to think like that the only opportunity with local marketing though is SEO, because I can remember picking up some of my very first clients when I first started, after working with the heating company, and even working with the heating company too. They were mostly web design clients at first. Like one of my very first clients was actually my producer, who I was working with on music, and he needed a new website for his music studio. And then that spun off into me working with a record label that he was working with. And I ended up designing a site for them. So I think that there's a lot more opportunity in local marketing than just SEO. And I think that there's some benefit into getting versed in other areas like web design as well.
Hey, really quick, I just wanted to interrupt the video for a quick moment. I wanted to let you know that in the description of the video, I've actually put a link where you can learn a little bit more about the Breakout Alliance program, and you can actually get a chance to work with me more closely. If this is something you're looking to do, you want to actually go out there and start building a business in 2019 and beyond, check out the link in the description below. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'm going to let you guys go back to the video.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know for a lot of my own clients too, like it really just started out with you do the website, and that's a really good crutch to kind of bring you into further services. So, I mean, for anybody starting out, you know, you can't just necessarily come to someone and say, hey, I'm going to charge you $1,000 a month. And, you know, they're going to be able to feel confident in spending that kind of money with you. You know, it takes time. So you start with some small stuff first, like maybe doing that website, and then that can lead into that. And it's worked out pretty well for me. You know, I have a lot of web design clients that they were very happy with just having me do the design. In some cases, they don't want the marketing. But even still, like if they ever come back to me or want maintenance, like I can still, you know, utilize that and make some money, and you get referrals out of it, things like that.
Yeah. Speaking of web design too, like you don't really need to even know how to design a website. I mean, it's a good thing to learn. And with tools like WordPress, I remember the first time I came across WordPress, it was like, well, the first time I was kind of overwhelmed by it. I was like, man, I don't know what this is. I don't want to have anything to do with it. But then I came across it like the second time though, through one of the courses that I had been taking when I first got started off. And they did a really good job of explaining WordPress and how to set it up. And from there, I mean, that was it, man. I was like, I can design any website with this. You know, if you learn like a key theme, like you and I are talking a lot about Divi. We use that a lot.
Yep.
I know you use Thrive themes a lot. I use that once in a while. But you learn one of these key themes, you can pretty much design or clone any website out there. Like you find a design that you like, you can easily build it out. I mean, it literally is almost like typing in a Microsoft Word document, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned a great point, because I actually found there's a popular site where you can buy themes called, I think it's, geez, I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. I think it's
Theme
like
Forest?
Theme Forest. That's the one.
Yeah. I love that one too.
So yeah, I bought a theme on there. It's actually a construction-based theme called BuildPress, and it's not as open-ended as the Divi platform we're talking about. But I built one site with that, and once I learned like how to actually build that site and like all the kind of little kinks to getting that configured in a certain way, I would actually show that to like up-and-coming clients. Like say I did one for a roofer, I would then show it to a painter, and he would be like, "Yeah, I really like that layout. Can we do these colors?" And I would just literally duplicate the site and then swap out everything. And then I could very easily just jump in and get the new site done for the other client. And they were all very happy with it because it's a really nice theme. So, you know, you could do the same thing with Divi, which is a little more open-ended.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend for anybody that's, you know, going to be doing even a website for themselves or for a client.
Yeah.
Their drag and drop editor, you can really customize it however you want.
And doing a website for yourself is a really good place to start. I mean, it's not necessary, but if you want to start there and you want to learn, I mean, that's a great opportunity. And you don't just have to like learn WordPress if you don't want to. I mean, you definitely can go out there and you can outsource it. I mean, I've outsourced very good website builds for anywhere between $150 and $300. But I feel like if you put the time investment into learning how to do it, you can just build them out so quickly. So how long would you say it took you to kind of like repurpose that site? Like when you repurpose it for like the painter or whatever?
I mean, in a lot of cases, there is like a plugin I use sometimes called Duplicator, where you could just duplicate the site. So depending, I've run into some issues with that because I did it for one client and I like missed a bunch of spots on certain pages. So it had another company's name in there from my original site. So it can be kind of
double check it.
bad to, you know, bring that to a new client. But in any case, I mean, depending on the theme, like I would think you could probably do it in a few hours, depending on what, you know, how much work there really is and the demands of the client. You know, it can all depend.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like people get held up on stuff. I mean, I just did a website for a client and he was very much like a perfectionist. So he just wanted things to look a certain way and became a little bit more of a project than I anticipated. But it all really depends. You know, some clients, if you give them a good idea of what it is that you want right from the start, you know, right from the beginning, like what it is that the project is going to entail, then it should make it easier on your life.
Yeah, for sure. That duplicator plugin too, like if you're very, very careful about going back through the site and making sure that you've got everything kind of squared away, or a lot of times what I like to do is I like to kind of create a template ahead of time and not even put any company information in there, but just have the basic design of my site ready. So that way I can duplicate it onto the person's site, like the painter. And then it's just a matter of me going in and flipping out the logo, flipping out their images, and then grabbing the content from them and plugging that in. And I mean, that can take, you know, I can have it knocked out in like 30 minutes sometimes.
Wow. Yeah.
If you've really got it templated out. So, but yeah, that's a really good point. And yeah, I didn't even think about the duplicator plugin. I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, I do use that one as well. It's an awesome plugin, awesome tool. One thing I found kind of interesting, that we were talking about this earlier, it's a model that you use a lot. It reminds me a lot of web.com's model. It's your pay it forward model.
Oh, yep.
That's a great way to hook clients. I don't know, maybe you can share that with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I have a really good story I'll share with you guys. Basically, one of my very first clients, and this was a web design client, I realized that, you know, if you go on Google and you search for anything, you're going to see at the very top of Google, you're going to get ads, which are run through Google AdWords. And usually there's anywhere from like 3 to 4 ads. And I realized that if people are running ads, they're spending money. and obviously they're spending probably a lot of money, especially someone like a plumber. They could be spending as much as like, $15 to $20 just to get a single click on one of those ads. And that's, a lot of money if they're not, if they don't know what they're doing, then ultimately that can lead to some pretty expensive bills and ultimately them, shutting off their ads or whatever. So I was looking around in my local area and I saw that there was someone running these ads, but the ad itself actually had like miscapitalization in it. Like it looked really bad. And I knew right off the bat that whoever was running that ad, it wasn't like a marketing agency doing it on their behalf. It was someone doing it by themselves. And they clearly just didn't put any time or effort into making it look, halfway decent.
Good catch.
So what I found out was that Google has something called the AdWords Express, which means that you can run an ad from your cell phone. So clearly he just very quickly made this ad using his cell phone, which I don't recommend to anybody. You go this route for Google AdWords because there really is a whole other, we could do a whole other hangout just talking about that in and of itself. But basically I called him up and, he was very disgruntled. Like he gets phone calls all the time from people like me trying to offer him something, but he could tell that I was a little different. Like I wasn't calling from a foreign country or something. And I told him that I was local and he already had a website, but basically what I told him was, I could help you out with your marketing. And I offered to do it for him for free because he ended up going on this big rant about how he, was kind of like in this position in his life where things weren't going so hot for him. It sounded like his business was almost like collapsing on him. And of course he was sort of in desperation mode. Like he's trying to do Google AdWords and just get some phone calls and get some business. And I offered to do this website for free, and do some little bit of marketing for him. And I was actually going to use he had an existing website, but what I found out was the company who had built that site, they kept control of the WordPress backend. So they didn't give us the passwords or anything. So I couldn't even go in and do SEO, let alone make any changes like to add articles or anything like that. So I just said, you know what, I'll build you a whole new site and you just tell them like basically go screw and we'll walk away from it. So that's exactly what we did. I even called that company for him on his behalf and they were like, yeah, no, we're not going to give it out. And they just said, if you want it, like he owned the domain name, meaning he owned the name. It was his name, his company name. So he had full rights to that. So I was able to get into that and then set up hosting with my own host. And I basically built him a site using that same theme I talked about, the Build Press.
Oh, nice.
That was one of my first builds using that theme. And when all was said and done, he actually came back and he was like so blown away with the work I did. He ended up paying me $750.
Nice.
And then he probably did, he came to my house twice and he actually did a little bit of plumbing work. Like my girlfriend actually lost one of those hair clips in our, we have like the, what do you call it?
The garbage disposal? Or?
Garbage disposal, yeah. It dropped in there and of course you turn it on and it just makes noise. Nothing's going on. So he was daring enough to put his hand down there and take it out, but you had to power the thing down. I didn't even want to like dare.
Get your fingers chopped off?
Yeah. So he was able to do that. He hooked up my washer dryer and then we had some issues with the new washer dryer, like banging some pipes. So he installed something that would have cost like $200 and he paid for the parts, labor, did everything.
Wow.
Free. And now I have a good plumber I can call too, like someone that I trust and, he knows
awesome.
me. So yeah, I made out really well in that. And then now every year he actually pays me, he'll throw me money every once in a while. He'll send me a check for a couple $100 and just say, thanks for maintaining it and keeping it alive.
Nice.
So it was a really awesome example to pay it forward. I mean, in reality, I made well over $1,000 for hooking somebody up and really showing them that, I was willing to help them.
And I think there's a lot of people out there who, they could get started doing something like that, where it's not intimidating for them to approach someone because they're not being salesy about it. And if they just did that maybe 4 times a month, for a lot of people, that would be, life-changing income that would allow them to quit their jobs or, spend more time with their family. So, yeah, I think you're definitely spot on with that. But most clients, from my experience, not all of them, but most of them that start off as web design clients, you can pretty easily talk them into becoming a monthly paying client, either via a hosting fee by hosting their website and doing that, or getting them, hooked on some kind of local SEO program where you start doing search engine optimization for them and
Yep.
getting them ranked in Google. Now, there's some key benefits between being ranked in Google naturally because you're the best fit versus what you were talking about earlier, which was the AdWords, right? And that is, people know when they go to a search and they type in plumber, they know the difference between those paid ads and, who's showing up there just because they're the best, right? There's a clear differentiator. And I've read a lot of studies that people develop what's called banner blindness to those ads a lot of times.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to talk a business owner into letting us do SEO work for them because it's such a huge ROI for them. They land, a handful of clients every single month from that SEO work that we do. It well pays for itself for what we do for them. And, SEO is one of those things where you can make it more complicated than it has to be. So you have to be careful about how you approach it. You want to make sure that, especially with local, it's way easier than if you're targeting like a national term. And I'm sure we'll do probably another hangout even on that topic alone.
Yeah.
I just want people to realize that if you have a funnel in place like this, where you're starting off with like web design and then you're moving on to SEO or a monthly hosting, like you're going to have that recurring built in and, you can get started. You don't even really need SEO experience to get started. Like when I first started, like I said, I used that heating and air conditioning company as a guinea pig. I didn't really even know what I was doing too much. I don't know if you have a similar experience. Did you know SEO very well when you started?
No, I mean, one of my first clients, basically was an insurance company, and I was able to take them on. And what ended up happening, I mean, I don't know if you want me to do like the more elaborate version of the story, but
yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to share, I think it might help people. So
yeah. I mean, so what I actually did, and this is one of my first big SEO clients. This was after, getting like some of these web design clients. I found someone who specifically wanted, the local marketing, like they really wanted to bring in more business through SEO. They weren't just looking for a website and then, potentially that was it. So in this case, I found them through a job board called Indeed. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with Indeed. It's kind of like, in my opinion, one of the best job search engines. I don't know if it's like that across the country, but it's a really good one. And that's where I was essentially looking around. I would just type in SEO and you can filter down by city. So I was looking in my general area, within a 30-mile radius. And this insurance company came up. They were looking for part-time work, 20 hours a week. So what ended up happening was I applied, and on my resume, what I did at the time was I had my marketing blog. It was a very professional blog where I'd interviewed a lot of like well-known marketers and entrepreneurs. So I put in that sort of section of my resume that I had done SEO, and I mentioned all these things about it and just kind of, made it fluffed up as much as I could, even though I had a pretty like sort of basic idea. I had never ranked a client in the local map pack, but I knew how to like write an article and do a title tag or a meta tag, some of these really basic things you could do. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really like know full blown, like here are all the steps I need to do to rank a client in the map area. But anyway, they thought that I was really professional. They said that other people had applied, but they like, someone had applied that was working at like Burger King or something. And, clearly not very like professional people. Whereas I came from, I was working in a technical background at the time doing computer troubleshooting for a software company. So I had a really good background, and they decided to hire me. And at the time I said, well, instead of me coming in here like 20 hours and working behind the desk, I was already working a full-time job at the time. I was actually doing e-commerce, and they were very flexible at my full-time job. So I knew that, maybe if I went in every once in a while, I could pull that off and it would work out quite well. Yeah. So what I did is I actually told them that I'll do it for $1,500 a month, which in my mind kind of waged out at the time. I was making about $25 an hour. Mm-hmm. And I figured that was about the wage I would have made roughly 20 hours a week, throughout the month. And I knew that they would counter that because it was a lot of money, like $1,500 a month for this, decent sized insurance agency. They were fairly small, but they actually came back and countered me with $1,000. And of course, I'm still like super excited about this. It was pretty exciting to have a company say, yeah, we'll pay you $1,000 a month. And I didn't really have a clue as to what I was doing, but ultimately this gave me the opportunity to have money so I could kind of play with stuff. Like you said earlier, you kind of had a guinea pig company with your heating company there.
Yeah.
I was able to utilize them in the same way and go out there and basically try out different like outsourcing providers. I ended up finding a company that had a white label program, which means that they could take my logo and my branding and they would allow me to, sell SEO with my own logo, my own company essentially, and they could do all the work on my behalf. So
Nice.
I built a really good relationship with a company out of Colorado, and they were able to help me out quite a bit with that client. So I ended up meeting them in person once a month for about an hour each month. So I would walk in with a report that this company in Colorado actually did everything for me. And I would just walk into the company and be like, here's what we did this month. And, just kind of go through it. And it was a little intimidating at times because, there was like a huge group of people, and eventually they got really good results. Like I got them ranked for insurance in their city. Like if you just type insurance city, Massachusetts, they actually show up in the, I think they're number 2
Nice.
right now in the map area. So it worked out really well.
That's awesome. I think of 2 points that come to mind hearing that story. And the first point is, don't be afraid to take on a client if you don't know what you're doing 100%, because most of the time what's going to happen is you're going to talk to someone and you're going to know way more than they know. They're a local business owner. They're running their business. And the fact that you're here right now watching this video, you already know way more than they know. So you're going to wow them already. So that's number one. The worst that happens is they pay you and you go out there and try to do the work and you fail and you can't do it. And what's the worst that can happen? You give them their money back? That's the worst that can happen. So I want people to think about that as they're kind of getting into the mindset of moving forward and starting their business. The second point is if you start to learn SEO and it's something that you're passionate about, you don't always have to work for yourself if you don't want to. Obviously, that's what we encourage people to do, but you could learn this skill and you could go work for someone else. SEO is a really good paying job, being someone who does search engine optimization. You mentioned Indeed. You could go on Indeed right now, and I bet you see pretty nice salaries for the year. I don't know if you know any numbers off the top of your head, but
yeah, I would say like rough ballpark, depending on the type of job and like what sometimes they'll throw that in there as like one minor thing as part of another bigger role. But I mean, if that's like a direct thing, I would say you're probably in the ballpark of like anywhere from like 40 to 70,000, unless you're getting into like more of a manager, like higher end position. But in reality, like if you imagine if I had 10 of those insurance clients that were paying me $1,000, I'd basically up into 6-figure bracket by then. So I mean, you do have to somewhat consider, is it worth it to you to go out there and get the actual job? I'm not going to say no, because in a lot of ways you could potentially learn a lot, or use this time. Maybe you do decide to work for a company. That could be an opportunity to maybe learn a little bit, but I definitely wouldn't make it an end game.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And I really don't know many opportunities out there where you can go and make that kind of money without having to go to college for, at least 4 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I have my associate's degree and I never really felt like it's held me back, but there's definitely, there's probably been times I'm sure that I've applied to jobs and it's, people might look at that and think otherwise, but ultimately it's going to be getting some of those first roles, like getting my first marketing role when I was actually working full-time in marketing positions. That was pretty tough. I basically got kind of a lower end paying job. I actually took a loss from where I was at just to switch into marketing.
Wow.
It was a little tough there. It was an e-commerce position, which at the time I only had minor experience in. So it did take some time, to kind of break into some of that. But I mean, I think it's going to be like that for any job,
Yeah, for sure. I want to think about the mindset of a business owner, because I want people to understand really what the mindset is of a business owner who is maybe thinking about hiring you for, SEO or local marketing or web design or whatever. Again, this kind of goes to people's fear talking to them and saying to them, well, what if they ask me this? What if they ask me that? I don't know how to answer. You have a really good analogy. We were on a webinar last night and you had a really good analogy that I really liked about the auto mechanic.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, like, today I'll just give a perfect example. I actually found out that my brand new car, I have a brand new Volkswagen. They sent me a letter in the mail that there was a recall on a particular part. Now I went down there today and they actually said, hey, it's going to take 2 hours, but it's not like I'm going to sit there and say, let's just say it was something I did have to pay for. Maybe it wasn't a recall. Like I could have had an oil change being done, and they could have said, hey, this part like needs to be fixed and it's going to cost $300. I could just say, okay, yeah, let's just do it. And ultimately I really don't understand like all the ins and outs of what that part maybe even does, how it's affecting the car. If I'm getting, a good deal for my money, like could I have gone to another mechanic and got it for half the price? And that's something that's a lot of people, they're just trusting you, to go out there. I'm essentially trusting this mechanic to do this work. And I don't necessarily have any clues to what's really going on beyond them trying to explain it to me, but I'm not really going to know the ins and outs of everything. So
Right.
It's kind of the same with SEO, like this insurance company, when they hired me, they had things like in their description. I'll just give one example. You could tell that they just pulled stuff off the internet randomly. Like they said, experience with Google Webmaster Tools and submitting XML sitemap. So like they had that in there like a bullet point, almost like it's going to be this big project. But depending on your skill level, if you do know, that's something that takes literally 2 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
and then you do it one time and you never do it again.
Mhm.
So for them to like you could tell that they didn't have any clue as to what they're really asking for. They're just trying to find stuff on the internet and that as their job description. And I always thought that was really funny. So
That is pretty funny.
yeah, a lot of these businesses, like they don't know what they're really asking for. They just know they want more business, they want more phone calls. So, and really that's what most of them really care about. It's kind of the same. Like if I bring my car to the mechanic, I don't really care what they're doing. I just want it fixed,
Yeah. Yeah. You could probably attest to this, but the one thing I'm always talking about is result-based marketing. I don't care, what I'm doing for the person in terms of if I'm delivering XYZ. At the end of the day, I only care if they achieve the desired result that they wanted. And that's what I really want to drill into people's heads too as they watch this, is that at the end of the day, you're just delivering the result to get them more customers. And everything that you do from A to Z to get them there is just a means to that end,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, the biggest thing, like, there was a point where I had actually worked at a marketing agency for a little while. And when I would get on the phone with some of the clients, these clients in particular, I just remember, that's why I'm bringing this up, was
Mhm.
that, you could talk to them about all these things that were really good, but if they weren't getting more phone calls, then they would ultimately be upset about that. Like that was the big thing that they really wanted.
Yeah.
You could talk about how many positive reviews they got on Yelp or something, but if they didn't drive many more phone calls that month, then it's, that's kind of the end goal for them. And that's the results they really want.
Yeah, for sure. So one last thing I want to cover, and then we'll wrap this up. And, I'm sure we'll be back with another one for more insight for people. But it's a question I get asked all the time, and it's, how do you accept payments? And I think this is a funny question in my mind, because it's like, someone's trying to give you money, just take the money, If I'm trying to give you $100 bill, you're not going to ask, wait, how should I grab this bill? Should I grab it like this? You're just going to take it. So that may be funny for me, but some people I think really do struggle with that and how they should accept payments and do that. So I kind of want to give people some options. And one of the options that I used to use was called FreshBooks. And I use some more different stuff now. I use them once in a while, but when I was first starting off, it was a really, really low barrier way to collect payments without, having to have someone write me a check, which obviously is a very easy way to collect payment in its most natural form. Have someone mail you a check. Totally fine. But if you want to go like an online route, you want to look really professional, you could go sign up for FreshBooks, and they let you send out an invoice and they let the customer pay that invoice online. So it looks really, really legit. And of course, there's always PayPal too. I mean, if you want to go that route, but FreshBooks, I think, is a really great invoicing system that looks really, really professional for people who, are looking for something. I don't know. Is that what you're using, or using?
Yeah, in the past, that's what I had used when I was like doing a lot of stuff. I mean, right now I'm just sort of manually keeping track of it in PayPal.
Mm-hmm.
I may actually go back to FreshBooks because it just can be hard. If people don't pay with PayPal, then you kind of have to like manually stay on top of them, whereas FreshBooks will do that for you automatically. So that's one of the biggest things, especially with, you got someone busy like a plumber or something, maybe you're charging them every month. it can be a little tough to like chase people down, and FreshBooks will do some of that for you, automated through email follow-ups and things like that, and let them know that they owe, you know, so you don't have to be doing it on your own and trying to call them or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, once people get more established, they can look towards doing something else too. Like now I'm using authorize.net primarily. And what I do is I set them up on the recurring billing in authorize.net. So I punch in their credit card number and I never have to worry about it again. It's just every month on that day charges their card, and it's a done deal. But you don't have to go that advanced when you're first starting off. You can go with a simple system, and as simple as having someone just write you a check.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you guys are, again, brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification to get future updates on new videos that we release here on the channel. And I also wanted to let you know that if you're looking for some guidance, mentorship, looking for a great business opportunity here in 2019 and beyond, be sure to check the link in the description below. I actually worked together with Paul James to really put together this curriculum based on a lot of things that he's been teaching to his students, and we worked on this together. I basically put something together that I'm teaching myself with Paul's help, and I wanted to be able to provide that to you. So for those of you thinking about applying to this, I wanted to give you a little bit of guidance on maybe who this isn't for, right? If you're someone that makes a lot of excuses, you're very indecisive and you're not really able to make decisions, or possibly you're just thinking, I'm not really ready to start my own business, then please don't apply to this program. If you're someone that's really confident, you feel that you can go out there and you're ready to start working with other business owners, ready to start really building your own business, and you're not someone that's going to be making excuses, you're willing to take action, this is going to be a great program for you. So check the link in the description below, and I look forward to either myself or someone on my team actually having the chance to speak with you on our upcoming call. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.